The stars had always been silent. For thousands of years, humanity looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone. They sent signals into the darkness. They built telescopes and listened for any reply. The universe gave them nothing but silence. Until today, Admiral Yuna stood at the center of Earth's Defense Command. The massive room was filled with screens and control panels. Hundreds of officers worked at their stations. The room was usually calm and quiet, but today, everyone was tense. Everyone was afraid. "Admiral, we have confirmed visual," said Captain Tejo. He was a young officer with steady hands and sharp eyes. He had served under Yuna for 5 years. She trusted him completely. Yuna walked to the main screen. The image made her heart beat faster. There were ships. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. They filled the space between Earth and the Moon like a metal cloud. Each ship was massive. The smallest ones were bigger than any human vessel ever built. "How many?" Yuna asked. Her voice was calm. She had trained herself to stay calm in every situation. "Our sensors count 4,712 ships," Tejo replied. "The largest one is approximately 12 kilometers long." Yuna nodded slowly. She had expected this day would come. Humanity had made first contact with alien life 30 years ago. It was not a friendly meeting. A small alien probe had crashed on Earth. Inside, they found technology far beyond anything humans had created. They also found a warning. The galaxy was not a peaceful place. "They are sending a transmission," said Lieutenant Hana. She was the communications officer. Her fingers moved quickly across her panel, putting it on main screen now. The image changed. Yuna saw an alien face for the first time. The creature had gray skin with a texture like stone. Its eyes were large and yellow with no visible pupils. A mouth full of sharp teeth opened and closed as it spoke. The translation software worked quickly to convert the alien language into English. "Primitive species of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was deep and cold. "I am Commander Morak of the Velthari Empire. Your planet has been selected for harvest. You will surrender immediately. All resistance will be punished with death. You have no choice. You have no hope. Submit now, and some of you may be allowed to live as workers." The transmission ended. The room was silent. Yuna could feel the fear in the air. She could see it on the faces of her officers. Some of them were very young. They had families. They had dreams. And now, an alien armada was demanding their surrender. "Admiral," Tejo said quietly, "what are your orders?" Yuna did not answer immediately. She looked at the screen. She looked at those thousands of ships. Each one was built for war. Each one had weapons that could probably destroy entire cities. The Velthari had conquered hundreds of worlds. Their empire stretched across half the galaxy. They had never lost a war. And they expected Earth to surrender without a fight. Yuna smiled. It was a small smile. But it was real. "Hana," she said. "Open a channel to the Velthari fleet." "Yes, Admiral." Hana worked her controls. "Channel open." Yuna stood straight. She clasped her hands behind her back. When she spoke, her voice carried across the void of space to Commander Morak and his entire fleet. "Commander Morak," she began. "I am Admiral Yuna of Earth's Defense Command. I speak for all of humanity. We have received your message. We understand your demands. And we have a response." She paused. Across the room, every officer watched her. They were scared. But they also trusted her. They believed in her. "Humanity does not surrender," Yuna continued. "We have spent our entire history fighting for survival. We have faced ice ages, plagues, and wars. We have always survived. We have always grown stronger. And we will not bow to any empire, no matter how large or powerful." She took a breath. Her next words would change everything. "You have 12 hours to withdraw your fleet from our solar system. If you remain after this deadline, we will consider it an act of war. And we will respond accordingly. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is Earth's final warning. You will leave, or you will die." She made a cutting motion with her hand. Hana closed the channel. The room was completely silent. Then, slowly, the silence was broken. It started with one officer clapping. Then another. Soon, the entire command center was filled with applause. Officers cheered. Some of them had tears in their eyes. Taeho walked up to Yuna. He kept his voice low so only she could hear. "Admiral, do you think they will leave?" Yuna shook her head. "No. The Velthari have never retreated. They do not know how to show weakness. Then we will have to fight," Taeho said. "Yes," Yuna agreed. "We will. Can we win?" Yuna looked at the screen one more time. She thought about the last 30 years. After finding that alien probe, humanity had worked together like never before. Old enemies became allies. Resources were shared. The best scientists from every nation had worked on a single goal: defending Earth from whatever was out there. They had built things in secret. Things that the galaxy did not know about. Things that even most humans did not know about. When they found that probe, Yuna said, the world governments decided something important. If hostile aliens ever came to Earth, we would not fight them with our old weapons. We would not fight them with nuclear bombs or conventional armies. We would fight them with something new. Something they had never seen before. She turned to face Taeho directly. "Yes, Captain. We can win. The Velthari think they are attacking a primitive world. They think we are weak because we are young. They think we have no chance against their advanced technology." She paused. "They are wrong. And in 12 hours, they will learn exactly how wrong they are." Taeho nodded. He did not fully understand what the Admiral meant, but he trusted her. If she said they could win, then they could win. Across the solar system, Commander Morak received Earth's response. He listened to the small human female threaten his mighty fleet. He watched her stand there, with no fear in her eyes. And then he laughed. He laughed so hard that his officers stared at him in surprise. He laughed until his throat hurt. The idea that this tiny planet could threaten the Velthari Empire was the funniest thing he had ever heard. "Ignore their warning," Morak ordered when he finally stopped laughing. "Begin preparations for planetary bombardment. We will show these humans what happens to species that refuse to submit." His officers obeyed without question. They had done this many times before. They had crushed rebellions on 100 worlds. Earth would be no different, or so they thought. In the darkness of space, hidden among asteroids and debris, thousands of human satellites waited silently. They had been placed there over the past 3 decades. They looked like rocks. They looked like garbage. They looked like nothing important at all. But inside each one was a weapon that humanity had never used, a weapon that the Velthari could not even imagine. The countdown had begun, and Earth was ready. The hours passed slowly. Every minute felt like an hour. Every hour felt like a day. The people of Earth watched the news. They saw the alien ships hanging in space. They heard Admiral Yuna's message played over and over again. Some people panicked. Some people prayed. But most people simply waited. Captain Taeho had not slept since the aliens arrived. He stood at his station on Orbital Station 7, Earth's largest space platform. Through the thick windows, he could see the alien fleet in the distance. They looked like stars, but they were not stars. They were death. They were destruction. They were the end of everything he had ever known. Or they could be. "Captain, I have the latest data from the probe network," said G1. She was the station's chief engineer. Her job was to keep the station running. But today, her job was much more important. Today, she was monitoring humanity's secret weapons. "Show me," Taeho said. G1 pulled up a display. The screen showed the solar system. Earth was at the center, a blue dot of life in the darkness. The alien fleet was marked in red. There were so many ships that the red almost formed a solid wall. But there was something else on the screen. Thousands of tiny green dots scattered throughout the solar system. "All defense platforms are online," G1 reported. "Power levels are at maximum. Targeting systems are calibrated and ready." Taeho nodded. He had helped build some of those platforms. He knew what they could do. The Velthari had no idea what was waiting for them. How long until the deadline? He asked. 7 hours and 43 minutes, G1 replied. 7 hours. Tejo wondered if the aliens would leave. He hoped they would. Despite everything, he did not want to see death on such a massive scale. Even alien death. Even enemy death, but he knew they would not leave. The Velthari were too proud. They were too certain of their own power. On Earth, Admiral Yuna was meeting with the World Council. Leaders from every nation sat around a large table. Their faces were grim. The weight of their decision pressed down on all of them. "Admiral," said the Secretary General, a tall woman named Subin, "are you certain this is the only way?" "Yes, ma'am," Yuna replied. The Velthari do not negotiate. They do not make peace. Every species they have encountered has either surrendered or been destroyed. There is no middle ground with them. "And you believe we can defeat them?" asked another leader. Yuna thought carefully before answering. "I believe we have the capability to destroy their fleet. Our defense systems are unlike anything in the galaxy. The Velthari have never faced technology like ours, but we have never used these weapons," Subin pointed out. "We have never tested them in actual combat." "That is true," Yuna admitted. "But we have run thousands of simulations. We have prepared for this moment for 30 years. Every scientist, every engineer, every soldier has worked toward this single goal. We are as ready as we will ever be." The room was quiet. The leaders looked at each other. They knew what they were deciding. If they fought and won, humanity would be safe. If they fought and lost, humanity would be destroyed. There would be no second chance. No retreat. No surrender. Finally, Subin spoke. "We will take a vote. All those in favor of resisting the Velthari invasion, raise your hand." Every hand in the room went up. "The vote is unanimous," Subin declared. "Admiral Yuna, you have full authority to defend Earth by any means necessary." Yuna stood and saluted. "Thank you, ma'am. Humanity will not fall today." She left the council chamber and walked quickly to the command center. There was much work to do. 7 hours was not a long time. But it was enough. It had to be enough. Meanwhile, on the Velthari flagship, Commander Morak was growing impatient. He sat on his command throne, watching the blue planet rotate slowly in the view screen. Such a small world. Such a weak species. Why were they making this so difficult? "Commander," said one of his officers, "the humans have activated additional satellites throughout their system." Morak waved his hand dismissively. "Let them play with their toys. Nothing they have can harm us." "Should we destroy the satellites?" the officer asked. "Why bother? They are nothing. Less than nothing. When the deadline passes, we will begin the bombardment. The humans will learn their place soon enough." The officer bowed and returned to his station. He had doubts, but he kept them to himself. Questioning Commander Morak was not wise. Those who questioned him usually did not live long enough to question him again. Back on Orbital Station 7, Tejo received a secure message from Admiral Yuna. He read it quickly, then read it again to make sure he understood. "G1, he called. "Activate Protocol Omega." G1's eyes widened. "Sir, are you certain?" "Direct orders from Admiral Yuna. The Council has voted. We are authorized to use full defensive measures." G1 took a deep breath. She had trained for this moment. She had dreamed about it. But now that it was here, it felt unreal. Like a dream that was too big to actually happen. "Activating Protocol Omega," she said. Her fingers moved across the control panel. Across the solar system, thousands of disguised satellites received her signal. Deep inside each one, power systems hummed to life. Targeting computers began calculating trajectories. Weapon systems charged with energy that burned hotter than stars. The process took 3 hours. By the time it was complete, there were only 4 hours left until the deadline. "All systems online," G1 reported. "We have targeting solutions for every enemy ship. Every ship? Tejo asked. All 4,712 of them? Yes, Captain. Every single one. Our platforms can fire simultaneously. The Velthari fleet can be eliminated in a single, coordinated strike. Tejo felt a chill run down his spine. The power they held was terrifying. 30 years of work, 30 years of preparation, all leading to this moment. They had the ability to destroy an entire alien armada in seconds. Now we wait, he said quietly. The hours continued to pass. On Earth, people gathered in parks and squares. They looked up at the sky. They held hands with loved ones. Some sang songs. Some told stories. They did not know exactly what was about to happen, but they knew something would happen. Something that would change everything. Admiral Yuna watched the clock. 3 hours. 2 hours. 1 hour. Each minute brought them closer to the moment of truth. She had done everything she could. Her people were ready. Her weapons were ready. Now it was up to the Velthari. Admiral, Hana said, we are receiving another transmission from the alien fleet. Put it through, Yuna ordered. Commander Morak's face appeared on the screen. He was no longer laughing. His expression was cold and cruel. Humans, he said. Your time is almost up. I will give you one final chance. Surrender now, and I will spare half your population. Resist, and I will kill every living thing on your planet. Choose wisely. Yuna stared at the screen. She thought about all the worlds the Velthari had conquered, all the species they had enslaved or destroyed, all the suffering they had caused across the galaxy. Commander Morak, she replied. Humanity's answer remains the same. We will not surrender. Not now. Not ever. If you want Earth, you will have to take it. And you will fail. Morak's eyes narrowed with anger. So be it. When the deadline passes, your species will cease to exist. The transmission ended. Yuna looked at her officers. They were scared. She could see it in their eyes. But they were also determined. They would fight. They would stand together. Whatever happened, they would face it as one people. All stations, she announced. Prepare for combat. The Velthari have made their choice. Now we will show them ours. The countdown continued. 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, and then the deadline arrived. The deadline came and passed. For a moment, nothing happened. The alien ships remained in position. Earth's defense systems remained on standby. The entire solar system held its breath. On the Velthari flagship, Commander Morak smiled. The humans had talked big, but they had done nothing. Just as he expected. Just as it always was, with primitive species. They barked loudly, but when the time came to bite, they did nothing. Morak to all ships, he announced through the fleet communication system. Begin advance. Target the human orbital stations first. Then move to planetary bombardment positions. Today, the Velthari Empire claims another world. Across the alien fleet, engines powered up. Ships began to move forward. The metal wall of death started its slow march toward Earth. Officers on every vessel prepared their weapons. Soldiers checked their armor. Pilots readied their fighter craft. The invasion had begun. In Earth's Defense Command, Admiral Yuna watched the enemy fleet move. Her face showed no emotion. Her hands remained steady at her sides. She had expected this. She had prepared for this. Admiral. Tejo's voice came through the communication system from Orbital Station 7. Enemy fleet is advancing. They have crossed the outer marker. Understood, Yuna replied. Continue monitoring. Do not engage until my command. Yes, Admiral. Yuna turned to Lieutenant Hana. Open a channel to all defense platforms. Authorization code, Omega 77. Hana entered the code. Channel open, Admiral. All platforms, Yuna spoke clearly. This is Admiral Yuna. Enemy fleet is advancing. Lock targeting systems to assigned coordinates. Prepare to fire on my command. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Across the solar system, thousands of hidden satellites responded. Targeting lasers invisible to the naked eye painted every Velthari ship. Computers calculated the exact position, velocity, and trajectory of each target. Power systems reached maximum charge. Weapons that had never been fired in combat hummed with deadly energy. On Orbital Station 7, G1 monitored the targeting data. Her screen showed a complex web of lines connecting each defense platform to its targets. Every Velthari ship was covered. Some of the larger vessels had multiple platforms assigned to them. There would be no escape. Targeting complete, she reported to Tejo. All enemy vessels are locked, waiting for Admiral's command. Tejo nodded. He looked out the window at the approaching fleet. The alien ships were closer now. He could see their shapes more clearly. They were ugly things. Built for war and nothing else. No beauty, no grace, just metal and weapons and death. How long until they reach optimal firing range? He asked. At current speed, approximately 14 minutes, G1 answered. 14 minutes. Tejo wondered how many Velthari would die in those 14 minutes. Thousands? Millions? He did not know how many aliens crewed each ship, but the number would be enormous. An entire armada. Destroyed in moments. It seemed impossible. It seemed wrong somehow. But it was necessary. The Velthari had given humanity no choice. On the flagship, Morak watched his fleet advance with pride. His ships moved in perfect formation, a display of military power that had crushed countless worlds. Nothing could stand against the Velthari Empire. Nothing ever had. Nothing ever would. Commander. One of his officers spoke up. I am detecting unusual energy signatures from multiple locations throughout the system. Morak frowned. Explain. They appear to be coming from small objects. Asteroids, debris, perhaps artificial structures. The energy readings are unlike anything in our database. Can you identify the source? No, Commander. The signatures do not match any known technology. They could be natural phenomena. Or what? The officer hesitated. Or they could be weapons. Morak laughed, though this time there was less humor in it. Weapons hidden in rocks? Do not be ridiculous. The humans are primitives. They cannot have developed anything we cannot detect. Yes, Commander, the officer said quietly. He returned to his station, but he kept watching those strange energy readings. Something felt wrong. Something felt very wrong. Back on Earth, Admiral Yuna made her final preparations. She had reviewed the data 100 times. She had run every possible scenario. She knew what would happen when she gave the order. The question was not whether they would succeed. The question was whether she was ready to give that order. Millions would die. Alien lives, yes. Enemy lives, yes. But lives nonetheless. Creatures with thoughts and feelings and families. Creatures who had been told that humanity was weak and primitive. Creatures who had simply followed orders, just as her own soldiers followed orders. Was she ready to kill them all? She thought about her home. A small village in the mountains where she had grown up. Her parents had been farmers. They had taught her the value of life. Every plant, every animal, every person had worth. Taking life was never something to be done lightly, but her parents had also taught her something else. They had taught her to protect what she loved. They had taught her that sometimes, to save many lives, you had to take a few. It was not easy. It was not pleasant. But it was necessary. The Velthari had come to enslave humanity. They had come to kill billions of innocent people. They had refused every chance to leave peacefully. They had made their choice. Now Yuna would make hers. Admiral, Hana said, enemy fleet has entered optimal firing range. Yuna took a deep breath. This was the moment. The moment that would change human history forever. Attention all platforms, she said, her voice strong and clear. This is Admiral Yuna. By the authority granted to me by the World Council, I am authorizing the activation of Earth's planetary defense network. All platforms will fire on my mark. She paused. The command center was completely silent. Every officer watched her. Every screen displayed the advancing enemy fleet. The moment stretched out like time itself had stopped. Mark. The word was simple, just one syllable, but it carried the weight of worlds. Across the solar system, thousands of hidden weapons fired simultaneously. Beams of plasma hotter than the surface of the sun shot through space at nearly the speed of light. The darkness lit up like a new star had been born. Energy that humanity had spent 30 years gathering and storing was released in a single devastating instant. The weapons were not missiles or bombs. They were something far more advanced. They were concentrated beams of superheated plasma, guided by quantum targeting systems that could hit a target thousands of kilometers away with perfect accuracy. They could burn through any armor. They could vaporize any shield. Nothing in the known galaxy could stop them. On the Velthari flagship, alarms suddenly screamed to life. Officers shouted in confusion. Screens filled with warning messages. Commander Morak jumped to his feet, his eyes wide with shock. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Commander," an officer cried. "We are detecting massive energy discharges from all around us. Our ships are being targeted. Shields are failing across the entire fleet." "Impossible," Morak roared. "No primitive species could." He never finished his sentence. A beam of plasma struck the flagship directly. For one brief moment, the massive ship glowed with impossible brightness. Then it simply ceased to exist. Where the flagship had been, there was only superheated gas and melting debris. Commander Morak died without ever understanding what had happened. On Orbital Station 7, Tejo watched in stunned silence. Through the window, he could see the alien fleet. Or rather, he could see where the alien fleet had been. Where thousands of ships had floated moments before, there was now only light. Bright, blinding, terrible light. "Firing sequence complete," G1 reported. Her voice barely a whisper. "Total engagement time, 4.7 seconds. 4.7 seconds. That was all it had taken. 4,712 ships. Millions of aliens. An entire invasion fleet that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Gone. Erased. In 4.7 seconds, Tejo felt his knees go weak. He grabbed his console for support. He had known the defense network was powerful. He had helped build it. But seeing it in action was something else entirely. It was not war. It was not battle. It was pure, absolute destruction on a scale he could barely comprehend. Status report. Admiral Yuna's voice came through the communication system. She sounded calm. How could she sound calm? "Admiral," Tejo replied, struggling to keep his own voice steady. "Enemy fleet has been destroyed. All 4,712 vessels eliminated. No survivors detected." There was a pause. Then Yuna spoke again. "Understood. All stations, remain on alert. Scan for any remaining threats." Tejo looked out at the empty space where the fleet had been. The light was fading now. The superheated gas was cooling. Soon, there would be nothing left but scattered atoms drifting in the void. Earth had won. Humanity had survived. But at what cost? The silence after the battle was deafening. No explosions. No alarms. No screaming voices on the radio. Just silence. The kind of silence that follows the end of something massive. On Earth, people stared at their screens in disbelief. News channels showed the footage over and over again. The alien fleet. The flash of light. The empty space where thousands of ships had been. It seemed fake. It seemed impossible. But it was real. Admiral Yuna sat alone in her office. The celebrations had already begun throughout the command center. Officers were hugging each other. Some were crying. Some were laughing. They had survived. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and won. But Yuna did not feel like celebrating. She had just killed millions of living beings. Yes, they were enemies. Yes, they would have destroyed Earth. Yes, she had no choice. But still, millions of lives ended in less than 5 seconds. The weight of that sat heavy on her chest. A knock came at her door. "Enter," she said. Captain Tejo walked in. His face was pale. His eyes looked tired. He had clearly been thinking the same thoughts as her. "Admiral," he said. The scanning is complete. We found no survivors from the Velthari fleet. No escape pods. No emergency signals. Nothing. Yuna nodded slowly. The plasma weapons leave nothing behind. That was the design. Yes, Admiral. Tejo paused. Permission to speak freely? Granted. I cannot decide how to feel, he admitted. We saved Earth. We saved billions of human lives. But we also just killed more beings than I can count. I do not know if I should be proud or ashamed. Yuna looked at him. He was a good officer. A good man. She was glad he felt conflicted. It meant he was still human. The day they stopped feeling the weight of death was the day they became no better than the Velthari. You should feel both, she said. We did something necessary today. Something that had to be done. But that does not make it good. It does not make it clean. We carry the weight of those deaths now. We carry it forever. That is the price of survival. Tejo was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. I understand. Admiral. Good. Now we have work to do. The Velthari Empire will learn what happened here. They will send more ships. We need to prepare. More ships? Tejo looked alarmed. How many more? I do not know. The Velthari control thousands of worlds. They have millions of ships. This fleet was just one small part of their military. Then how can we possibly defend against all of them? Yuna stood up. She walked to the window and looked out at the sky. Stars were beginning to appear as the sun set. Somewhere out there, the Velthari were already receiving news of their fleet's destruction. We cannot defend against all of them, she said. Not with weapons alone. We need something more. We need to send a message so powerful that the Velthari will think twice before sending another fleet. We need to make them afraid. How do we do that? Yuna turned back to face him. We show them what we did. We broadcast the footage of their fleet's destruction across the entire galaxy. Every species, every empire, every world will see what happens when you attack Earth. Fear is a powerful thing, Captain. Sometimes it is more powerful than any weapon. Tejo considered this. You want to make an example of them. I want to survive, Yuna replied. I want humanity to have a future. If that means making the galaxy afraid of us, then so be it. I would rather be feared than dead. The next few hours were busy. Earth's communication systems were not designed for galactic broadcasts. But humanity was nothing if not creative. Engineers worked together across the world, linking satellites and transmitters and relay stations. They built a network that could send a signal across the stars. Meanwhile, Admiral Yuna prepared her message. It had to be perfect. Too aggressive, and they might invite more attacks. Too weak, and they might seem like easy targets. She needed to find the exact right tone. On Orbital Station 7, G1 and Tejo worked on editing the battle footage. The recording came from dozens of different sources: satellites, defense platforms, even civilian telescopes. They combined everything into a single, clear video that showed the entire battle from start to finish. This is amazing work, Tejo said as he watched the final cut. And terrifying. The video showed the alien fleet in all its massive power. It showed them advancing toward Earth. It showed the human weapons firing. And then it showed the results, the complete and total destruction of every single ship in less than 5 seconds. The galactic community will not believe this, G1 said. The Velthari have been undefeated for centuries. This will change everything. I will defeated for willed, are dissented. That is the point, Tejo replied. On Earth, news of the victory spread quickly. Streets filled with celebrating crowds. People waved flags and sang songs. For the first time in human history, the entire world was united in joy. They had faced extinction and survived. They had proven that humanity was not weak. They had shown the galaxy that Earth would not be conquered. But beneath the celebration, there was also fear. Word had spread about the Velthari Empire. About their size. About their power. about the fact that this fleet was only a tiny fraction of their military might. People knew that more aliens would come. The question was when, and how many. Admiral Yuna appeared on every news channel that evening. She stood in front of Earth's flag, her uniform perfect, her face calm. "People of Earth," she began. "Today, we won a great victory. An enemy came to our doorstep and demanded our surrender. We refused, and we destroyed them completely." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But we must not become overconfident. The Velthari Empire is vast. They have millions of ships and billions of soldiers. They will come again. They will seek revenge for what we did today. We must be ready. However," she continued, "we must also send a message to the galaxy. A message that tells every species, every empire, every civilization out there, exactly what Earth is capable of. We are not primitives. We are not weak. We are humanity. And we will defend our home with everything we have. In a few hours, we will broadcast the footage of today's battle across all known frequencies. Every sentient being in the galaxy will see what we did to the Velthari fleet. They will know that attacking Earth means death. Certain, absolute, unstoppable death. This is not a threat. It is a promise." She looked directly into the camera. Her eyes were hard. Her voice was iron. "To any species watching this broadcast, we do not seek war. We do not want to fight. But if you come to our world with weapons raised, we will destroy you. We will leave nothing behind. Not your ships, not your soldiers, not your memory. You will cease to exist, just like the Velthari fleet ceased to exist today. Earth remembers those who attack us. Earth does not forget, and Earth does not forgive. You have been warned." The broadcast ended. Across the world, people watched in silence. Some felt pride. Some felt fear. Some felt both. But all of them understood one thing. Humanity had changed today. They were no longer a young species, looking up at the stars with wonder. They were a force, a power, something that the galaxy would have to deal with. In the command center, Teho watched the Admiral's speech with mixed feelings. She was right. Of course. They needed to project strength. They needed to make the galaxy afraid. But there was something dark in her words, something that worried him. What would they become if fear was their only protection? What would humanity turn into if they had to keep killing to survive? He did not know the answers. But he knew that the questions would haunt him for a long time. Outside the window, the stars continued to shine. Somewhere out there, the Velthari Empire was receiving its first reports of the disaster. Somewhere out there, other species were watching and wondering about the strange world called Earth. The galaxy was about to learn a new word, and that word was humanity. The broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy. It traveled on radio waves and quantum signals and communication relays that humanity had not even known existed. It bounced from star to star, from world to world, from species to species, and everywhere it went, it left shock in its wake. On the throne world of the Velthari Empire, the High Council gathered in emergency session. They watched the footage in stunned silence. Their mightiest fleet, commanded by one of their greatest warriors, destroyed in less than 5 seconds. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. Yet there it was, playing on the screen in front of them. "How did this happen?" demanded the Emperor, a massive Velthari whose gray skin had turned almost white with age. Commander Morak had nearly 5,000 ships. The most advanced weapons in our arsenal. How could a primitive species destroy them all? No one had an answer. The council members looked at each other with fear in their yellow eyes. They had built their empire on the certainty of their military power. They had conquered hundreds of worlds because nothing could stand against them. Now, that certainty was shattered. "We must respond," said one of the council members. "We must send a larger fleet. We must destroy this Earth before they become a greater threat." "With what?" asked another council member. "Did you see that footage? Their weapons are unlike anything we have. We do not even understand the technology. If we send another fleet, we might lose another fleet. Then we send 10 fleets. 100 fleets. We overwhelm them with numbers. Onyx died, stayed, and lose millions more warriors. The other species are watching. If they see us fail again, they might begin to question our power. Rebellions could start. Uprisings could spread. The emperor raised his hand for silence. The council members immediately stopped talking. Despite his age, the emperor still commanded absolute authority. "We will not send another fleet," he declared. "Not yet. First, we will learn. We will study these humans. We will understand their weapons. And then, when we are ready, we will crush them." "But the insult," protested a council member. "The galaxy has seen our defeat. We must respond or look weak." "We already look weak," the emperor replied coldly. "Sending another fleet to die will not change that. The only way to restore our reputation is to achieve total victory, and for that, we need time to prepare." The council accepted his decision, though many did not like it. The Velthari Empire had never retreated from a fight. They had never admitted that an enemy was too strong. But things had changed. Earth had changed them. Across the galaxy, other species reacted in different ways. Some celebrated. The Velthari had been their oppressors for generations. Seeing them humbled was a moment of joy. Others were worried. If Earth could destroy the Velthari, what else could they destroy? Was humanity a potential ally or a future threat? The Corvani Alliance, a group of peaceful trading species, sent a diplomatic message to Earth. They wanted to establish relations. They wanted to learn about these humans who had defeated the undefeatable. Perhaps, they thought, Earth could be a valuable friend. The Nexus Collective, a hive mind that controlled dozens of worlds, decided to monitor Earth from a distance. They did not want to be allies or enemies. They just wanted to watch and wait and see what these strange beings would do next. And in the darkest corners of the galaxy, where pirates and warlords ruled, Earth's name became something to fear. Stories spread about the planet that could destroy entire fleets in seconds. Some said the humans were demons. Some said they were gods. Some said they were something worse than either. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. The initial excitement faded. People went back to work. Children went back to school. The threat was not gone, but it was distant now. The Velthari were far away, licking their wounds. Other species were curious but cautious. Earth had time to breathe. Admiral Yuna used that time wisely. She expanded the defense network. She built more platforms. She trained more soldiers. She knew that peace would not last forever. The galaxy was too dangerous, too unpredictable. They had to be ready for whatever came next. 6 months after the battle, Captain Tejo was promoted to commander. He took charge of Orbital Station 7, replacing the previous commander who had retired. His first act was to install a memorial plaque in the main observation deck. The plaque was simple. It listed the date of the battle and a single sentence. "Here, humanity proved that we will not be conquered." Tejo often stood in front of that plaque, looking out at the stars. He thought about the Velthari who had died. He thought about the future battles that would surely come. He thought about what kind of species humanity was becoming. Were they heroes? Were they killers? Were they something in between? He did not know. But he knew that whatever they were, they would keep fighting. They would keep surviving. That was what humans did. They faced the darkness, and they refused to fall. 1 year after the battle, the first alien visitors arrived on Earth. They were not Velthari. They were Corvani, small green beings with large eyes and gentle voices. They came in a single ship, bearing gifts and messages of friendship. Admiral Yuna met them personally. She welcomed them to Earth with traditional human ceremonies. Tea was served. Gifts were exchanged. Translators worked overtime to bridge the language gap. The Corvani leader, a female named Telani, expressed her species' admiration for humanity. "We have watched the stars for 1,000 years," she said. "In all that time, We have never seen a species like yours. You are young. You are small. But you have something that the Velthari lack. You have courage. True courage. Not the arrogance of power, but the determination of those who will not surrender. We did what we had to do, Yuna replied. Nothing more. That is exactly what we mean, Telani said, her large eyes shining with emotion. The Velthari conquer because they enjoy it. They kill because they can. But you fought only because you had no choice. You gave them warnings. You asked them to leave. You did not want war. That makes you different. That makes you worthy of respect. Done. The my countrying the five. The my countrying the seed. The meeting was a success. The Corvani agreed to share their star maps and trading routes with Earth. In exchange, humanity would provide protection if the Velthari ever attacked them. It was the beginning of Earth's first alien alliance, the first step toward becoming a true galactic power. Over the following years, more species reached out to Earth. Some wanted trade. Some wanted protection. Some simply wanted to understand the strange beings who had humbled the Velthari. Humanity welcomed them all, though always with caution. The galaxy was still a dangerous place. Trust had to be earned. Admiral Yuna became the most famous human in history. Her face was known on 1,000 worlds. Her words were quoted by beings she would never meet. She became a symbol of human defiance, human strength, human will. But she never forgot the weight of what she had done. On the anniversary of the battle, she always spent the day alone. She would sit in her office, looking at the footage of the Velthari fleet's destruction. She would remember Commander Morak's laughing face just before he died. She would think about all the alien families who lost loved ones that day. She was proud of protecting Earth. She was proud of saving humanity. But she was also sad. Sad that war had been necessary. Sad that so many had died. Sad that the galaxy was the kind of place where species had to kill to survive. One year, Tejo visited her on that anniversary. He found her at her desk, watching the footage for the 100th time. "Admiral," he said softly, "you saved us all. You should not torture yourself like this." Yuna looked up at him. Her eyes were tired but clear. "I do not torture myself, Tejo. I remember. There is a difference. The day we forget the cost of war is the day we become like the Velthari. I will not let that happen. Not to me. Not to humanity." Tejo understood. He nodded and left her alone with her thoughts. Earth continued to grow. It built ships. It made allies. It prepared for whatever the future would bring. The Velthari never sent another fleet. They watched and waited, just as humanity watched and waited. The galaxy had changed forever on that day. The day when a small blue planet sent a message that echoed across the stars. "We warned you." And now, the whole universe knew that when Earth gave a warning, it was wise to listen.